This week I've got Hobbs Shaw, which is a Fast and the Furious spinoff starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Jason Statham. And not gonna lie, I saw the first two Fast and the Furious, maybe three. Well, yeah, three Fast and the Furious movies, and then skipped a bunch. Saw the last one. Could not for the life of me tell you who most of these characters are, or what their importance to each other, or anything of the sort. But this movie doesn't really expect you to know that. It's very, in fact, hits you over the head with just like, here are the two guys. They don't like each other. They have to fight a supervillain. A supervillain played by Idris Elba, which feels like a waste, who plays a kind of like Terminator-esque enhanced dude with, you know, the Terminator vision and super strength, and his body's been enhanced so he's bulletproof. It's all this crazy stuff, and of course the two of them have to team up even though they hate each other to fight him together. And the dialogue in this movie is pretty much like after school special level quality. At one point they just go, wow, together we can defeat him, like working together is the only way to do this. Okay, cool, don't do drugs. Like, that's written, well, like, don't do drugs, do your homework, apply to college. Like, that's the, like, tone and quality of the delivery that it reminded me of. So, you've got the two of them, you know, lots of action. Vanessa Kirby plays plays Jason Statham's sister in this, which she's, 20, 30 years his junior. But they play siblings who are supposed to be young and, like, not that far apart from each other, which, sure, movies. The action is fine. You know, it's a Fast and the Furious movie, lots of car chases, probably too long. The movie's 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you can cut a good 15 minutes of it. You could cut a good 15 minutes of, like, showing Idris Elba be stitched up and robotic and all that stuff. Like, that, you could, so unnecessary. The banter and fighting between Hobbs and Shaw is fine. You know, I really like the two of them, actually. I just don't know if I love the two of them together. Like, it feels a little bit forced. There are some very bizarre cameos in this that I found actually distracting for the whole thing. And I don't know if it's just because of, like, the particular people they cast. And if you don't want to know, tune out for the next minute, but I don't think it really matters at all. It's directed by David Leitch, who's actually done some really great action films, including John Wick 1, John Wick 2, Atomic Blonde, and Deadpool 2. And so you've got some cameos from the Deadpool cast. You've got Ryan Reynolds in it. And I thought, because I had not seen the other Fast and the Furious movies that Ryan Reynolds had been in before, the way he comes in is just like, blah, 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 this and this. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess he must have cameoed in other ones. No, he has not. And then you've also got Rob Delaney, who was in Deadpool 2. And then Kevin Hart has a small role in this. And I was just like, of all the people, Kevin Hart is not someone who blends or can be not Kevin Hart. And I assume it's just because he and The Rock are close that he was in this, but every scene with him was so distracting. And I was just like, this is taking actually away from the world of the film. Like, is this supposed to be Hobbs and Shaw, or is this The Rock? And I don't know if the movie knows how to toe that line. This is one of those movies where there's like a timer, you know, they're fighting against the clock. And at many points I was like, at this point, this person or this thing should have gone off. This person should be dead. You know, this timer should have expired, this and that. And it's just absurd, like the way that I guess time is a construct to them, but hey, time is a construct to every movie, or time is a construct in general. I don't love, in terms of some of their insults, that some of them are still a little antiquated, in that, like, oh, She-Hulk over here. It's like, why can't it just be the Hulk over here? You know, why does it have to be She-Hulk? Why do you have to resort to gendering this situation as a means of insult? There's also the crime of bad CG at points in this movie, which I think is terrible at this point. Like, considering how much money these movies make and how much they pump into them, you'd think that they'd be better off, especially during a fight scene. Like, come on. It's a fight. This is like the bread and butter of a Fast and the Furious movie. How are you doing like a bad job of the CG here? Like, spend the extra, I don't know how much money on it. I mean, there's a bunch of absurdities. The plot is like paper thin. You're not going for the plot. It doesn't really matter. The action's fine. It's not revolutionary. The acting is okay. You're really going for the charm of the two leads, who are fine on their own, but, you know, I wish they had more chemistry together. It's actually weirdly, it reminds me of Stuber earlier this summer, where I'm like, oh, I really like the two of the actors. But together, I just wish more for the two of you. So I went opening night screening. The guy next to me was howling, also talking. Please, for the love of God, do not talk during a movie. Like, don't be that asshole. And he was having a grand old time. And I was like, oh, you're an asshole and an idiot. And this movie is clearly speaking to you. And that makes me really worry about the audience that they are targeting with these movies. So 1, please don't talk during movies. Don't be a dick. 2, it's not brain fodder. It's not conversation starter. It's not whatever. If you just want dumb fun this weekend, like, that's fine. There's really nothing else opening against it. So it's pretty much the only choice you have. To me, this was like, I was like, this is a plane movie. This is a movie that I would have been fine watching in a couple months on a plane, being like, okay, cool, I'm like quasi-amused. I don't need to pay money to see it, even though I had to pay money to see it. Like, that to me is what Hobbs and Shaw is, and which is a shame because, like, you know, any action movie you don't want to see on a plane or whatever because it's a small screen, but that is truly where I think this is like the sweet spot of this film is quality-wise and just like board-wise. Oh, also, quick warning, if you don't want the end of Game of Thrones spoiled for you, do not stay through the credits. In fact, as soon as those credit scenes start to roll, get the hell out of there. I find it absurd. It's only been like a couple weeks, months since the Game of Thrones ended, and they managed to somehow spoil the ending of it in there. So get the hell out of the theater if you want to still see Game of Thrones, but also want to see Hobbs and Shaw. That is my PSA to you. So I'm only going to give it 2.9 out of 5.